Dr. Svetlana Ivanova and
it's okay if I can lead.
Claudia Schnug.
You hear
So,
from you.
Okay.
this lecture is organized in co-organization with the Center for Promotion of Science. And today, this will be two-part presentation because first Svetlana will start with her story about Relogia, art, sci-tech trialogues, and then later on Claudia will talk about the projects done inside of this, in the same methodology.
In the same category.
In the same
Transdisciplinarity.
Exactly. So you already saw the announcements and saw that Svetlana is cross-disciplinary artist, researcher, and educator, and she's also creative director, strategic advisor, and manager of multi-cross transdisciplinary teams. She's a founder and president of Art and Science Research Foundation, RI, and Relogia Art Tech Trialogues. So she's also lecturer at the Cross-Disciplinary Research Lab of MA, Applied Imagination for the Creative Industries Program at Central St. Martin's University of Arts, London. And as for Claudia Schnug, she's a curator of art and science collaboration and a scholar researching the intersection of art and aesthetics with science, technology, and organizations. So you can take the floor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Svetlana, and I'm gonna talk to you today about what I do, and then I would like to have questions that would refer to what you do. I don't know you guys, and I would love my only interaction and input from your side will be your questions, so I rely a lot on them or feedback. So today, me and Claudia, we're going to talk to you about transdisciplinarity. Who of you is familiar with transdisciplinarity or art-sci-tech collaborations? 1, 2, 3, higher, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Okay, and the rest of you, do you have any kind of experience with interdisciplinarity? Silence. Okay. I would fill the silence. So, transdisciplinarity is a field that I'm fascinated about because of its opportunity, the potential to give you a holistic picture, not just about knowledge, but about experience, about who you are, about what the meaning of life is, what the meaning of anything that you do is, looked at a holistic perspective. So, I'm going to present to you the project that crystallized out of my journey. I started that before my BA as a quest, and it continued throughout my BA, MA, and PhD, and now professional practice. So I'm going to present to you Relogia as the golden compass of the new era, and I'm going to contextualize that, because that will be the context where me and Claudia we will be talking today. So my example will be Relogia. So where and what are we? How did we get here? Do you ask yourself such questions from time to time? Yes, no, yeah? I mean, come on, guys. I need some form of interaction. I'm kind of, yay, woo, great, good. So, because if you're not asking those. So, my answer on that, and not just mine, based on research, we live in a fragmented culture. It seems like everything is kind of into pieces. It kind of, there is a big picture, but it's kind of evading our sight. So that fragmented culture, the world is in a flux, and we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back here. I can't see. Everything is changing for everyone. Pretending otherwise is an abdiction of common sense. So the question is whether we are a victim of change or whether we will embrace it and guide it. So we need to join forces once to mend our fragmented economies and societies. It's a very powerful statement from a leader in the European Commission. They usually are very boring, but this one is awesome. That's why I put it on. So fragmentation means that shift is happening in research design, in education design, and in knowledge design. And while the shift is happening everywhere, there are 8,000 disciplines on our planet today. Did you know that? 8,000 disciplines. 8,000. And I'm struggling just with 10 of them. So we know much more than before, but we understand much less. So the biggest problem we have is that there is a discontinuity between understanding and experience, and that applies to all levels, across all these 8,000 disciplines. So that depraves humanity from its most powerful asset for evolution. Do you agree? Yeah, great. So we live in a complex environment, as we agreed. So how do we navigate these complex systems? That complex system implies that there is an undefined outcome. That's the difference between complex and complicated system. So what should be the education design for such complex system and complex times? What should be the research design? And how do we give society access to understanding? I mean, society, we are society as well. So I'm slightly contextualizing this fragmentation culture where we live in and introducing to you in parallel what relogia is. So the fabric of human knowledge is cross-sectoral knowledge. And knowledge production in the, I don't know why this is so, it was not supposed to look like that. Anyways, so production of, it's cross-sectoral knowledge production, that should be in one line, within the quintuple helix of innovation. Which one of you is aware about what is the quintuple helix of innovation? Nobody. Quadruple helix of innovation? Nobody. Triple helix of innovation? No. Okay, so it's there. Imagine these are the strands of a helix. So that's the helix, quintuple. So we have, that implies 5 helices together. So the 5 helices are, we start from where? We start from the middle: academia, education, industry, then society and culture, government, and ecology. I mean, you will see them constantly in other slides. So this is our knowledge production, is cross-sectoral. So these are the 5 sectors. And these 5 sectors represent the quintuple helix of innovation. This is the fabric of our knowledge, of human knowledge. This is whatever you do, it's there. So when I ask you, do you have like transdisciplinary experience? Do you know transdisciplinarity? Now we are going on top of that, like 8,000 disciplines to choose from, to cross-connect. And on top of that, we have this differentiation between the different sectors. So at the moment, we are in which one of those? Yay, great. There will be easy questions as well. So that knowledge production and that messed up presentation. So on the top, we have knowledge economy. Then we have knowledge society and knowledge democracy and socio-ecological transition. So these kind of heavy and very distanced from everyday language terms. I mean, this is where everyone says that we are in a transition, but what kind of transition? Transition in everyday lives, transition, where is that transition going on? So on the fundamental level, it's in the knowledge production, how knowledge is produced and how then it's reverberated across all these sectors. So this is how it looks like in terms of correspondence. So these 5 helices, where we are is academia. Then we have industry. From academia, ideally, you find a job, you go into industry, or you go into government, or you go into NGOs, like me. I'm into academia, society and culture, and I collaborate with industry and government. And now I have friends, like organizations, who are in ecology. So my operational setting is within the transdisciplinary and cross-sectoral. So I operate within the 5 sectors to connect them in order to have holistic knowledge. And then, who are the architects and composers of intelligence today? Who are the storytellers of today's culture? Besides yourselves? Come on. I mean, whom do you listen to? Where do you take your inspiration from? I mean, who is the composer of intelligence today? Have you ever thought about that? The institutions, government. Okay. Academia, in a way. I organize, so from these 5 sectors, who are the composers of intelligence today? It
should start from academia, no?
Should. Is it coming from academia?
Some of it, I guess.
Some of it? So how do you access that knowledge? How do you access you as a society, as part of society? Not as part of academia now, for the next few years. Yeah? How do we have access to intelligence today as society?
Social media agents, like creators and collectives acting through social media.
Social media. And some kind of social networks. I mean, social media implies Facebook, LinkedIn, or anything on Google, or Perplexity, or ChatGPT. I mean, what do you imply? Because social media now is kind of...
Every space of digital interaction.
Mm-hmm. Is that your source where you acquire the intelligence? Yeah?
The experts are also there, as well as the lay people.
Okay.
And the audience, all interact.
So the point of interaction with intelligence is the social media?
It really depends which type of knowledge, of course.
Yeah.
Depending on the answer, which type of knowledge we need. And there are certain, I would say, people who somehow insist that certain knowledges are redistributed and available, democratized, but certain knowledges are not cool, not enough. You know, like there is no enough resources in order to study those knowledges, so it really depends. Something is more accessible and something is deeply hidden in the humanistic studies in the universities. But there is a lot of knowledge which is very often used in industry, which is available very often in the internet domain itself.
Exactly. And this is what's causing all the fragmentation. Because we have zillions of multi-point of views, and that's making that fragmentation, I mean, via this point of interaction, the digital. But that source of a problem should be the source of solution as well. So they are everywhere. When you said social media, the storytellers, they're everywhere. So how do we navigate that everywhere? How do we know which one is truth? Because we all know that we live in a post-truth era.
Check some Facebook tells.
Yeah, I mean, the flood is already here. I mean, for intelligence and storytelling. This time it's from information. On some parts of on the planet, like in Austria with Claudia, there were like floods in her living area. So those who are curious enough to develop the Google It, like social media, or ChatGPT approach, and play at the intersection of different disciplines, like out of this 8,000, get even more puzzled. Sorry, I'm going to switch here. As a result, society in constant need for stimulation, both visual and intellectual, and we live in times when all known structures are collapsing. Professions are changing, climate is changing. We have exhausted severely the resources of trust in society, resulting in eroding the very foundation of culture in society. And we've exhausted and polluted resources of nature, ours here at home. So the only way out is a new identity, a new you, with the corresponding cooperative behavior, where we have transdisciplinarity, virtues, value system, and education that cultivates responsibility and care, bred in a context of collaboration and transparency, of the interdependency across the different intelligences and sectors. So the new you is the unity of all the creative the arts, intellectual sciences, and technological potential we have, arts tech. So this requires transdisciplinary polymath mental models. So how do we acquire those new mental models? I'm going to go briefly now. You will see a lot of examples from Claudia. I'm going to just show you a few. So that question was answered in the mid-20th century when we emerged a new culture, uniting the pillars of human knowledge, art, science, and technology, with transformative impact on all fields of knowledge, society, culture, policies, and this industry. That's about the 5 helices that I presented to you. So such premise is the foundation for collapsing the barriers between wide-apart disciplines such as art, technology, and science, pushing new knowledge and meaning-making to become an interconnected and interdependent act. And since then, mid-20th century, that sector has claimed its formal entity and it still negotiates its right place. I mean, there is no formal place. It's still a struggling field, but it's emerging. So in the fabric of human culture, we have a new thread that is trying to solve fragmentation, that is cross-sectoral and transdisciplinary. So that's the new thread in human culture. So how can the sciences, it answers a lot of questions, but in general it's like, how can the sciences be described so that the cognitive content, our perception of knowledge, can be made accessible, visible, and experienced? Or how can the 3 pillars of human knowledge, art, science, and technology, be integrated in new forms for education and research? So maybe most of you are familiar. There are a lot of initiatives of arts tech across the globe, like STARTS, Arts Electronica, the Museum of the Future in Dubai, Futurium Museum in Berlin. You're going to have a huge center next year here, right, for art and science in Belgrade. No? Lala told me. Okay. So in terms of education, research, and knowledge, the arts tech, if it looks from the art context, is called collaborative art, where you collaborate across disciplines. It's also arts-based research, which dates back from like the 2000, yeah, where art is already established form of research, not just science. And then you have transdisciplinary practice and research, which is my favorite and where like my focus is, where you translate one intelligence into another. So in that fragmentation that we described, who can see the big picture of the emerging new culture? And how can we navigate? Who do you think can see the big picture? Come on. Speculate. My grandma, my grandpa. Who? Google. Come on. It's not fun like that.
Tech giants, CIA.
Who?
Tech giants, corporations, and CIA.
Tech giants and CIA. But it's still based on tech, right?
Kind of.
So we need that tech tool, right? Not the meditation side? Yeah. Okay, good. We have an agreement. So, the slides are messed up. So, in order to see the big picture, Art and Science Research Foundation introduced 2 new notions. We have a linguist here. So, 2 new notions. So that when we approach a problem, we conceptualize it, harness it via concept, whether we are an artist, a scientist, or a technologist. So that concept should be all-encompassing. And where in history we had a similar problem that needed to be solved is during the last Renaissance. So based on that knowledge, the Renaissance, where we have the holistic approach, we take the re from the Renaissance that implies the revival of the complementarity potential between art, science, and technology. And logia, that comes from Latin and means concept, science, and relogia. I mean, what should be the concept that will harness the methodology of the big picture, of how we can see the big picture. And then the how, the actual methodology, is via trialogues. So we put art, science, and technology in interaction. And that interaction is called trialogues. The transdisciplinary form of communication between art, science, and technology is trialogues. You heard about dialogues, and this is trialogues. Definition, purpose, okay. How? Have you ever asked a question that you haven't asked before? And what were the settings where you did that? Was it when you had a problem, or when you had an inspiration, or when was it? Or when you met with someone that is new to you, like new type of intelligence?
Yeah, mostly when introduced to something new, there's a lot of questions new popping up, so mostly like when new content is presented, there's a lot of questions surrounding it.
New questions.
Yeah, new questions.
Okay. So at the moment when we are facing these transitional times, we need to form new questions in order to find new answers, because we definitely need new answers. So it's a long story, I don't know how to put it. So from Re to Relogia, that journey that went from 2014, first was born Re, okay, that's a Renaissance approach that needs to be, that what I'm, like the nature of knowledge that I'm dealing with. So I had to, like a community of art sci-tech researchers, we set up the Art and Science Research Foundation, because there was no such space in 2014. Now there are multiple, and everyone has a different approach in methodology via different projects. And from 2014 to 2024, that crystallized into Relogia. And Relogia, we did a lot of transdisciplinary projects. The most outstanding one, I'm just showing you here how many disciplines were. It's a project about translating biological form, the love hormone oxytocin, into music. If you're interested, you can go into detail in the article, but this is the number of disciplines that had to be, it's like translating from Chinese to Japanese to Italian to Spanish to, I mean, each discipline has its own language. So these are the different intelligences that had to collaborate between each other in order to produce an artwork. It's not an artwork, because it's artwork in terms of it's a new form of new piece of music, but in the same time that new piece of music interacts with the human body in the same way as the hormone interacts with the human body. And yeah, I'm gonna skip that. What the purpose of Relogia is, we take the underlying cause of how can we see the bigger picture in that context of fragmentation. We learn from evolutionary biology. In evolutionary biology, in nature, when there is a big change happening, what we are going through now, and we are part of nature, first, nature starts to produce a lot of innovation, a lot of variations to solve the problem, to solve and adapt to the new environment. Then, step number 2 is differentiation. Nature, evolutionary biology, our human body or nature, it starts to select which are the most effective solutions via the process of differentiation. And then, step number 3 is retains. I mean, this is the process of our evolution as humans, as human civilization, and of nature as biological systems. So what Relogia focuses, and its purpose is not just transdisciplinary projects, but transdisciplinary research that differentiates around this multitude of, like in the era of innovation, the transdisciplinary projects that actually go in the depth of translating one intelligence into another, and hence So fragmentation, pieces that were separated to be connected again. Relogia is here, so it's another talk. I'm gonna show you now. I'm gonna use that transition to introduce Claudia. We create the Relogia, the biggest event of Relogia, like with 45 experts from across the globe, and you're very lucky to have Claudia here, who are experts in transdisciplinarity, and they all come from different sectors. And they presented Relogia. We focused on 4 subjects: emotional intelligence, experience design, art sci tech education, and co-creative environment. These are 17 hours of lectures and presentations and trialogues that you can see online. I will provide you the link. They are really awesome. So we had, there is a book that you can take a look here, and the global statement of Relogia. Hopefully that will work.
If we accept that human learning effectiveness is vital for our survival, why we don't do anything about it? Where is the science that deals with it?
So the question is, how do we study?
How we define progress and how we measure progress.
Is it possible to establish a creative revolution?
To show that science, humanities, arts, they are not different things, but they are all the results of human curiosity.
About the steps we can take to ensure that humanity's future is human-centered.
You should have a crisscrossing of paths.
Because you need the 4th helix model, which is introducing the people.
Give people agency for exploring. This is a whole new way of teaching, of learning, of creating, of understanding ourselves and understanding each other.
New forms of education, new forms of culture, new forms of research, new forms of industry.
New future media collective that tries to understand, explore, and expand the contemporary practices at the intersection of art, media, science, and culture. And the disciplines range from art, design, architecture, social sciences, physics, engineering, robotics, and so on.
The way we approach such problems is to learn how to pose the right question before we look for the solutions, so that we can benefit from art sci-tech projects as a construction, because they are quite complex, so that we can get a holistic view on what the problem actually is and to ask the right question first.
Okay, everybody go back home and come back with the answer. Where is the log in this piece? What?
Welcome to Relogia, where all disciplines connect via art, sci, tech, trialogues.
Thank you. I think now it's best to hear like the examples of the results of art sci tech trialogues.